Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Roundup here on bet.nola.com for Tuesday, September the 13th, also known as Week 2 of the NFL season. I'm Zach Ewing, along with Spencer the Guru, here to walk you through the next weekend of football action, to look back at the previous weekend of football action, all from a fantasy football perspective. We are, as always, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook, and would like to remind everyone, to download the Caesars Sportsbook app if you have not done so already. You can get our special offer by going to nola.com/Caesars. And what that offer is whatever you bet on your first wager. If you lose, you get that money back up to $1,250. So a risk-free bet. Go to nola.com/Caesars. Also like to remind you to sign up for our newsletter. You can get myself, Spencer, or Jim Derry in your inbox every morning. Go to nola.com/BioBets for that. Also check out our YouTube page. Give us a like or a subscribe.
Yep, definitely. I think Zach Fur was up there. Definitely give us a like and subscribe to the YouTube because it's going to be lit over there. Going to have all our Bayou Bets and Fantasy Roundup videos up on there. I think you're back now.
Am I back now? Yeah, I think it was just a momentary. I might have hit my elbow against the internet there. Yeah, give us that like. If you're watching on Facebook, go over there, check us out. Promise the internet will cooperate the rest of the way. But let's get down to business, Spencer. Let's review Week 1 here on the Fantasy Roundup. And in a lot of ways, as we're going to kind of quickly go through some rankings here, there's only a couple of names that were surprises in my book. You look at these quarterbacks: Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, Herbert. Yeah, everybody kind of expected those guys to be the top scorers. Carson Wentz is the outlier.
Right. Yeah, pretty straightforward this week, I'd say. As far as the elite performers came out to play. I mean, the top three preseason projected quarterbacks all delivered top 5 days. Hurts was expected to do well. He had a few stinkers mixed in too, like Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott. But Carson Wentz, Burrow ate the garbage. Well, not really garbage time. They pushed it to overtime. Even with the 4 picks, he was still at least mid-pack. But so that was at least good that they came back and didn't totally stink. But Wentz was very surprising. Didn't expect him to. I knew Jacksonville wasn't probably going to be that good on defense, but I was thinking Trevor Lawrence would be the one to go off, not Wentz.
Are you ready to buy Carson Wentz as a backup quarterback, or maybe you're a Dak Prescott owner? Is he an option for you?
Yeah, he kind of has to be, especially in Superflex. It's funny you mentioned that, Zach, because one of my Superflex leagues, I'm in that exact situation. I had Dak, lost Dak. Now I'm having to plug and play Wentz. So not too bad, though, since I've got Josh Allen as my 1. So I was feeling really good about Allen and Dak, but oh well, Dak went down, got Wentz. So I feel all right with Wentz as a 2.
Injuries happen, and they will continue to happen. Couple of comments. Hello to Marie. Glad to have you here. And Gassan, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, says, is Jalen Reagor worth a dynasty stash, Spencer?
Not even close. Nope, he did not see the field against Minnesota. If anything, stashed their rookie receiver. I believe his name is Jalen Naylor. I would definitely stash him, not Jalen Reagor, because Reagor is just... I thought maybe he'd do a little something new. He's probably still learning the playbook, but he's shown that he's not it so far. So I wouldn't. I'd much rather stash a rookie or a second-year player. Rager's been like his 3rd or 4th year, and he's shown nothing that promising, really.
Okay, continuing on with our Week 1, while we're talking about receivers, let's talk about the top-scoring wide receivers from Week 1. And again, I don't think any of these guys a surprise at all. In fact, those 4 might be the top 4 receivers at the end of the year, and I don't think anyone would bat an eyebrow. Michael Pittman, maybe a little bit of a surprise at 5th, but not too much. I think I was high on him before the year. Maybe the surprise here is how good Justin Jefferson was.
Yeah, because I was thinking, Green Bay, I thought their secondary would have shown out better, but yeah, they got just absolutely destroyed. And Jefferson, man, he said it. He's going to be the number 1 receiver this year, and he's speaking it into existence so far. And the only one the one that was second to him was last year's number 1 receiver, Cooper Kupp. So it's fitting that they'll probably be duking it out all year. But Chase and Adams will be in there. It's normally not this chalky Week 1. Very chalk start to the season, especially at that receiver position.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll talk about week 2 waiver wire targets here in a couple of minutes, but there isn't like that one guy that everyone is just rushing out to get this year either. I mean, because I don't, there wasn't any huge surprises. Maybe that was just a weird week, or maybe it means the fantasy industry as a whole did a good job over the summer saying these are the guys to pick. But even a guy like a Cordero Patterson who had a good day against the Saints, well, he's already owned in most leagues.
Yeah.
He wasn't expected to be a top 10 guy, but you're not going to be able to go out and get him on the waiver wire. You certainly don't want to go trade for him and pay a premium this week. So it's tough. Gassan says he was destroyed by the Buffalo defense and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Sometimes that does happen. Top scoring running backs, you don't see CEH, although I think he was top 10. But I mentioned Cordero Patterson. The other one that catches your eye, well, of course, Saquon Barkley, a huge day. We'll talk more about him in a minute. But Kareem Hunt, instead of Nick Chubb on here for Cleveland.
Yeah, but it was because of the touchdowns. Chubb was still their lead rusher by a wide margin. Hunt just was the one that happened to get the 2 touchdowns. And, I mean, he's going to be heavily involved there. I mean, Hunt's still very much fantasy relevant, to the annoyance of I have some Nick Chubb shares. I was like, man, he could have really gone off if it wasn't for Hunt. But, I mean, they'll both do pretty well because with Jacoby Brissett there, that's going to be their whole offense is Chubb and Hunt. I mean, none of the receivers did good over there. So I'd feel good if I had kind of like Jones and Dillon with Green Bay. It's like if you have to start both of them, so be it. Chubb and Hunt are in that same category.
And then tight ends as we wrap up week 1 leaderboards. Travis Kelce, this one was a little bit more varied after Kelce. I mean, you wouldn't have had any of these names. In fact, if you do need a tight end, plenty of waiver wire targets who had good week 1s. The question is, who of these guys can repeat it?
Yeah, very wonky week 1 for the tight end position. I don't think many of these repeated. I mean, Taysom Hill, if it wasn't for that big long run, wouldn't be on this list. I mean, O.J. Howard happened to catch 2 touchdowns, I think, on only 2 targets. That's fool's gold. And then
Will Dissly had the long touchdown.
Yeah. So a lot of fluky stuff here. Don't panic. If you have Andrews or Pitts or even Kittle, I know he's hurt, but staying pat with your elite tight ends. Don't panic and try and pick up one of these week 1 wonders.
You're watching the Fantasy Roundup on Bayou Bets. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for us on the Bayou Bets YouTube page. Go over to it, check it out. That's where all of our fantasy episodes as well as our Bayou Bets episodes post. And on Thursdays, our Cashing In with Carville, where James Carville makes his weekend picks. Those are coming to the Bayou Bets YouTube page as well. Spencer, new thing we're doing this year is the Bayou Bets Listener League. And here's how it finished out in week 1. Both you and I were winners, although I got to admit I had the lowest score of any winner at 122. Again, what you really want to look for here is those top listeners. Bucktown Rebel, 165. Team WTF Bama, 143. I Will Lutz for you, 129. I mean, these guys are the ones who are on their way to possibly a playoff spot and competing for those tickets. It's just been 1 week, though.
Right, yeah. Shout out to Bucktown, off to a great start. And I'm glad you beat Boom. Down goes the guru. He's
down goes Boom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when I play him, I'm gonna have to change my name to that because that's I see you try to put a target on my back, but no, it's all good. It just took care of business against UBN. I know his 49ers didn't do him any favors.
Yeah, that was a brutal week for the 49ers. That just a weather thing, I think. I'm not too concerned about it. Did have another question from Gassan about tight ends here. He has Cole Kmet and Irv Smith, thinking about dropping them for Hill or Everett. I think I know which one of those two you're going to say because I've seen your waiver wire pickups for week 2.
Yeah, that's easy for me. Definitely Everett. And I would keep Kmet, because like you said about the weather, I would not panic about Kmet because the Bears offense got affected by that too. So keep Kmet, drop Irv Smith. He's doesn't look like he's got a role much in that Vikings offense. So get rid of Irv and pick up Everett, I'd say, because Taysom, I mean, that was just, I'm not saying Taysom's a fluke. He's a great athlete, great piece for the Saints to have, but for fantasy, he's not a great piece to have because we don't know when that's going to come. The Saints mix those Taysom packages in sparingly to kind of throw teams off. That's not a regular part of their regimen, as we saw in the fourth quarter when the Saints offense was firing away. It was Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, not Taysom Hill. So I would not buy into Taysom because he had a good week 1.
Yeah, Taysom's one of those guys to me who week 11 you need a bye week fill in, and you hope that's the week that he gets a big pass play or something. Like you're willing to roll the dice on him as a bye week fill in, but you don't want him to be your number 1 tight end. That's way too volatile. Our stars of week 1, Spencer, you went with Saquon Barkley, a little blast from the recent past here.
yeah, he just went off, man. I'm glad I got him in the listener league. I was like, man, because I had Christian McCaffrey as my first pick. So I was like, man, CMC and Saquon, that's so shaky. But man, if they can stay healthy, that could be a championship team, because with those two, those are both top 5 talents. And Saquon showed why he's still in that discussion. It's just been injuries, man. He's been injured so much, but he's in a contract year this year. That's part of why I felt better about him, is that he's in a contract year. He knows he's got to stay healthy if he wants to get paid. And right now he's well on his way to being one of the highest paid running backs. So he showed he's a game changer, man. If it wasn't for him, the Giants wouldn't have won that football game. But with him back 100%, that's a completely different offense.
No doubt about it. 9 yards per carry, almost right on the dot, 9 yards per carry. But that won't happen every week. But one thing I look at with Saquon is I think he had 9 targets. He had 6 catches. Like, if they're going to use him in the passing game, which that's Brian Dable's offense, that's Mike Kafka's offense, they're going to use the running back in the passing game. And in a PPR format, even in the weeks where he doesn't smash in the run game, where maybe he's held to 60 or 70 yards, if he can get those 6 catches for 30 yards, that raises his floor up so high to where you're looking at a 12 to 14 point week even when he's not going off.
Yeah, for sure. He has that stable receptions for, like Javonte Williams last night. He didn't have a great night, fumbled near the goal line, but those 11 receptions kept him, fantasy relevant.
Yeah, absolutely. My week 1 start was easy, Justin Jefferson. Once you went with Barkley, I had to go with Jets. Jefferson, 9 catches, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns, and almost more than that, Spencer. He had the look of one of those receivers that we're used to seeing. Maybe 10 years ago it was Julio Jones, 5 years ago Antonio Brown, then it was Devontae Adams. They are capable of taking over any game.
100%. Yeah, he's showing it, and it's crazy because like him and Jamar Chase are just so insane how they're like, they're very self-confident as far as like they talk big, like especially Jefferson literally was saying, I'm the number 1 receiver this year. I'm taking that, and like most guys like, man, he's gonna flop, he's gotta be more humble. But they just continue to go out there and they make DBs look silly. Let's just say that. They are unbelievable talents.
Yeah. The whole can't guard Mike thing with Mike Thomas, who had a good week too, by the way. But you literally doesn't seem like you can guard some of these receivers, even if you're bracketing them, even if you're double covering them, whatever you're doing, they're still finding ways to get theirs every single week. And that's what really excites you is, you want to have the smash weeks, but you just love having those guys with the high floor where no matter what happens, barring injury, they're going to get 6 or 7 catches, 80 or 90 yards, have a chance at a touchdown. Every single week. Just got to love it. So that's week 1 here on the Fantasy Roundup. We're going to pivot and talk some week 2 now. And again, like to remind you that you should like and subscribe that Bayou Bets YouTube channel. Sign up for our newsletter at NOLA.com/BayouBets. Did have a question here from a man you may know. Horace says he has Etienne in 2 leagues. Is it time to panic? It's a little early for panic.
Yeah, exactly. It's week 1, man. Everyone overreacting after week 1. And I'm kind of glad Etienne got brought up because it is somebody that I've noticed all over Twitter. People are like, oh, he's done. James Robinson's back, blah, blah, blah. And it's one of those things where, like, James Robinson didn't look that great. Yeah, he was, for someone coming off a torn Achilles, he got a hats off. That was an incredible recovery and comeback. But as far as the efficiency, Etienne was actually more efficient. Yeah, it was less touches, but Etienne's efficiency was just fine. It wasn't that he performed. He just didn't get enough touches. So I'm thinking once the Jaguars offense really gets their footing under them and Lawrence can get in the groove, that Travis Etienne will be just fine. Great buy low candidate for those that are panicking after week 1.
Yeah, look, they got Denver this week, so it may not get a whole lot easier because they got to go to Denver, tough defense. So it's possible that you even wait a week and you get him at an even lower price. But I wouldn't give up on him just yet. We do have some guys, by the way, that we'll talk about in a minute that Spencer is ready to give up on. And there's a couple of surprising names on that list. But first, let's talk about Week 2 waiver wire. You picked one at each of the 4 major positions, less than 30% owned. That is our rule. This is using ESPN leagues. But that's pretty consensus. These guys are less than 30% owned. Matt Ryan, I liked him going in. I wouldn't have called him a top 12 quarterback, though, and so that's why he's unowned. But he's in that 13-14 range. If you're a Dak owner, this is the guy you go after.
Yeah, I put him on here because, they gets Jacksonville, and we saw what Carson Wentz did. He carved them up. Jacksonville's defense, very young, very much in rebuilding mode. So I'm thinking Matt Ryan and the Colts bounce back this week, and he'll have a pretty big week. So I like him there as a Dak replacement. Or if you're just, got a quarterback with a matchup you're not really feeling.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I meant to say Jacksonville does not play Denver. It's Houston that plays Denver. Forgive me for getting my AFC South also Rams confused there. But, Jacksonville is against Indianapolis. Another sort of injury-fueled pickup here with Elijah Mitchell down for a few weeks for the 49ers. Go get Jeff Wilson.
Right. Yeah, Jeff Wilson I like here because he's going to be the main runner there most likely. It's the 49ers, though, which is why he's only rostered in that few leagues. But without Mitchell, somebody's got to carry the football, and it's not going to be all Debo. I've heard something, Debo's just going to be their running back. Debo's still got to catch passes and run routes. You can't just have Debo be a straight-up running back because their receiver depth's pretty thin. I mean, Ayuk didn't show out. Jawan Jennings isn't that good. The rookie Danny Gray was inactive. The other rookie was inactive too, Ty Davis-Price. I mean, I'm sure he'll be active now that Mitchell's hurt, but that tells me Jeff Wilson's well ahead of a TDP in that regard as far as being their most trusted pure running back. So yeah, I'd go ahead and get Wilson. That's a good offense to have running backs in.
And a couple of pass catchers down here. Kyle Phillips of the Titans, really like the forgotten man in that receiving crew. And then Gerald Everett now with the other LA team as a tight end who you talked about earlier.
Yeah, we mentioned Everett. He's to me by far the top tight end to add this week. And, against the Chiefs should be a shootout there. But yeah, Kyle Phillips. I want to hammer this point home because I wish I'd have listened to myself. Like late August, I read a blurb on him, and it made perfect sense. I was like, man, they're viewing him. It's Mike Vrabel. Came up under Belichick. They're viewing him, and he fits the mold like similar skills. It's like they're like Wes Welker, Julian Edelman slot receiver, which is something the Titans haven't really had. And I was thinking they had Adam Humphries, who was a big flop, but they wanted him to have a big role there. I'm pretty sure they had signed Humphries and was hoping he'd do better, but never really panned out. So where this Kyle Phillips kid is looking like he could be that guy because their outside receivers, Trey Burks, wasn't a total disaster, but, not that great. And then Robert Woods, talk about disaster. Man, did he stink in week 1. Or I'm thinking Kyle Phillips could end up being pretty decent there. And you can get him for free. He's in no leagues, basically, as he rostered in, probably other than like these 16-man or deeper the leagues that they got these days. So I would, if you're in the regular 12-team league and need some receiver depth, he's definitely a name to monitor because if he keeps this pace up, he's not gonna be slept on for that much longer.
Here's a waiver wire question for you. You picked Jeff Wilson as your running back. Are you putting Rex Burkhead on your waiver lists after Dameon Pierce didn't get a lot of work for the Texans?
Probably not. I think a lot of it was like with the way the game script went, it was a real close game. Like I'm thinking Pierce is still the back to own over there, but the Texans will be trailing a lot. So yeah, I mean, if you can't get Wilson, Burkhead's a name to monitor. Of course, Darrell Henderson would definitely be the top priority if he's there. I forgot what our requirement was. I think it's less than 30% rostered, and Henderson is 40-something%, but he was available in some of my leagues. So Henderson, if he's there, since Cam Akers looks so bad, would be top priority. Then Wilson, and then probably Burkhead third after that.
So Darrell Henderson add to that list, and also Rex Burkhead if you need those running backs. Now, the other question here, of course, you add somebody, you got to drop somebody. And there's always guys at the end of your roster, your backup tight end, your Irv Smith, okay, he didn't get any work. I took a flyer on him. It doesn't look like it's going to work out. You can drop those. But Spencer's got some other ideas of guys who, are thought to be starting caliber players who he says, hey, you got to go, as we say. And one of those guys, and this is interesting, of course, you could use an IR spot on Dak Prescott. But if that IR spot's already filled up, or you have somebody else like maybe an Elijah Mitchell who's going to come back sooner, you're not afraid to just drop Dak completely.
Oh, yeah, not at all. No, to me, in single quarterback leagues, Dak, you got to go, buddy. I mean, he looked so bad in that game before the injury to where Dallas's offense is a dump, man. They just look terrible. The O-line looks bad. No running game. No receivers. I mean, it's going to be. They're going to fire Mike McCarthy and do all they can to get Sean Payton. The handwriting's been on the wall for that. I've been saying that. Dallas, man, I'm going to have to give Jim some grief about that.
I was just about to say, this is something we need to bring up during BioBets because Jim has been on the Cowboys bandwagon all offseason long, and he doesn't like the Aunt Mabel and Drunk Joe picks.
That's the
Aunt Mabel and Drunk Joe love the Cowboys every freaking summer. Don't try to tell me that that's a sharp pick. Look, it's easy to pick on him. Dak's hurt. Maybe he would have rebounded. The Buccaneers do have a tough defense. I mean, it's not totally fair to say that. But Mike McCarthy was always a reason to doubt that team and doubt that offense. And now that Dak is hurt, sell any shares of any cow. Maybe you keep CeeDee Lamb or Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, CeeDee Lamb. I saw him get sold really cheap in a dynasty league, and the guy used the excuse, "Oh, I'm rebuilding." But it's like CeeDee's not even old. Like you're an idiot, dude. Oh man, he literally gave him away for Romeo Dobbs and a 2023 draft pick. I was like, dude, you've fallen on your head. Like that is not good at all. That's my number one tip for week one. Y'all don't overreact to week one, going into week two. Don't make crazy trades and crazy moves. Like you gotta go, guys. I mean, like James Cook, a rookie, Mike Gesicki, a fringe tight end. These are guys I'm surprised they were rostered in 75% of leagues to begin with because their prospects were already looking shaky. And I mean, they were not involved at all in week one. So to me, if your prospects are already shaky and you're not involved to start, you got to go until you show me something. And then Kenny Golladay, that's just, why is he rostered in any leagues? He is a complete clown show. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, Kenny Golladay, a guy who, had some promise, had some good years in the past, but just, it's an injury thing and availability thing, and he just never seemed to get there. Maybe he will again, but right now don't need to roster him.
100%. Yeah, it's like, none of those guys really. I mean, that's why I put them on there, is I feel like it's just because, at waiver wire, it's like, you don't want to say you got to pick up people, but it's like, well, who do I drop? And then sometimes a lot of my leagues, I don't have those guys in many leagues. So a lot of my leagues, I'm chilling, I'm not making any pickups, but for those of y'all that did take a chance on those, just don't be afraid to let certain players go that are just not getting it done.
Yeah. And I mean, again, you don't want to overreact to 1 week, but if they were fringe anyway, and it wasn't just that they performed bad, but they're not even getting opportunity, that's the red flag now. Like if I have a wide receiver who's not getting more than 5 targets, you can go find somebody else who can get more targets than that. I mean, it's not hard to do.
Yeah. Same with the tight ends. Gesicki to me is a perfect example of that. Like everyone, for some reason, because he's usually always manages like a backdoor tight end top 12 tight end finish. So people want to love him, and he usually stays healthy. But he's somebody that's kind of a trap, I feel like, because you roster him and you start him a lot of weeks, but he's normally not very productive. Where to me, it's better to stream the position rather than just have this like not very good like number 12 tight end. Why not try to stream and potentially hit on a top 5 option with a good matchup?
Yeah, for sure. Moving on now, we want to change gears. And again, if you have any questions or comments about your fantasy league or questions for Spencer, drop them in the comments here. Also, give us a like or a subscribe on our BioBets YouTube channel, or if you're watching on the NOLA.com YouTube channel as well. I want to switch gears and talk about some DFS for week 2. Of course, most of what we deal with is season long here, but let's hone in on DFS, Spencer. Some values you found, one at each position, as kind of building blocks for a roster.
Right. Yeah. Double dipping with Matt Ryan just because it's just the matchup thing. I'm not a big Matt Ryan truther, but I mean, when that matchup, it's just like, I mean, the Commanders just ate all around. I mean, their running backs did good. The receivers did very good. Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel, Scary Terry, they all got there. So I'm thinking Pittman and JT will get theirs again. And, maybe some of the receivers, Paris Campbell, Alec Pierce, what's the other dude? Doolin, I think's his name. And then the tight ends, Kylan Granson, the young tight end, saw a few targets last week. So could be some values all around. But speaking of that matchup, Evan Ingram I like this week. I think the Jags passing attack bounces back, and Ingram was the only tight end targeted last week against the Commanders, which is kind of surprising because Doug Peterson's days in Philadelphia, he'd target 2 tight ends, Ertz and Goddard, but they must believe in Ingram as their primary receiving tight end, thought maybe Dan Arnold get sprinkled in there a little bit, but no, it was all Ingram, so he didn't do much on the targets he received. But I'm thinking against the Colts, who just got torched by O.J. Howard this past week, or might get torched again by Double E.
And at 3,600, you can do a lot of things with lineups if you put him in there. Brett's got a question, thoughts on CeeDee Lamb. We touched on that earlier. I think you got to hold him. I mean, obviously his value is going to go down over the next 6 to 8 weeks without Dak Prescott. But I think you got to hold him and kind of grin and bear what he can give you.
Yeah, probably. So it's probably not worth trading him. Maybe try and trade him if he'd have a big week this week or the next. And then people think, oh, he's back. Maybe then try to trade him. But unless he does something like that, keep him and then just hope your team treads water until Dak comes back, because I would think they'll do a little better in the second half. CD with Dak back.
Yeah, I mean, most leagues, 12-team leagues, maybe 6 make the playoffs. Maybe it's 4 out of 10. You can tread water at a couple positions and still be in playoff position in the second half of the season. CD comes back. He's a performer for you in the weeks you really need him. Maybe you don't start him every single week, depending on the matchup and depending on who you've got on your bench. But yeah, I think you got to hold it. My DFS picks for week 2 went with Derek Carr. The Raiders take on the Cardinals. A lot of shootout potential there. And then I'm coming back with my tight end, Zach Ertz. Again, we saw Gerald Everett of the Chargers have a good day against the Raiders. Maybe another tight end can do the same thing. Do be careful with Ertz that he's nursing a little bit of an injury, so make sure that he's active and ready to go. And then the other game I'm actually targeting is Bucs and Saints. I mean, if you look at the game script from these two teams' first games, the Bucs ran the ball very effectively against the Cowboys. The Saints struggled to stop the run. And so if that's going to be the case, and Leonard Fournette is getting by far the lion's share of the work there in Tampa Bay, then you could see a situation where Tampa Bay gets out to a leader, is trying to run the ball, and the Saints have to play catch-up again. And what did we see? We saw Jameis Winston go for Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas when he was in trouble. And so I'm getting Michael Thomas as like a WR2 price there, maybe even a borderline WR3 price.
Yeah, that's a good price.
I'll take that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Only thing you got to worry about, Spencer, is that if everybody's got the same idea and you're entering one of these GPPs, you've got to be careful not to pick too popular of a choice, or it really doesn't matter what the guy does, because he's not going to give you enough of a boost in these big DFS contests.
Right. Yeah, I think, going against the Bucs, a lot of people might be scared off by Michael Thomas to where I think he might be worth taking a chance on. Jarvis, he could probably get even cheaper. I'd probably try to pivot to Jarvis, but, at 5,800, can't really argue with it. I definitely think, though, the Saints' run defense will do better. I think a part of why Patterson did so well is because of Mariota. The Saints defense really struggles against these like mobile quarterback, I think it's like zone run schemes they call it, where it's like you have the quarterback running and the running back too, to where it's like the Eagles, for example, gashed the Saints with that last year. Jalen Hurts and I don't know if it was Miles Sanders, whoever their running back was at the time, just like gave the Saints defense fits. And that's kind of what the Falcons did. I'm thinking Fournette, I mean, he could do pretty well, but he's going to need to find the end zone, because I definitely don't see him like gashing the Saints like the way Patterson did. Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, the Saints have always struggled against those zone reads where they have to defend 2 reads. Tom Brady's not going to offer that dynamic, and so it's a different style of attack.
45-year-old will not be killing through on the ground like Mariota. But the
No.
secondary is going to be put to the test, obviously.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that on Thursday's Bayou Bets show live at 4 o'clock. If you have questions for Spencer, I see another one in there. We'll get to them at the end of the show. One more thing to do for week 2 is our sleeper picks. And Spencer, you went back out west for yours.
Right, yeah, I like Josh Palmer a lot this week, too, for the Chargers because Keenan Allen is almost certainly going to be out. I mean, he had a hamstring injury and missed the rest of the game week 1, and I just don't see any way he's going to be ready for this quick turnaround. And to me, even if he is, the Chargers would be smart to hold him out. I know it's against the Chiefs, but you got to look at the big picture. I mean, I know you want to take control of the division early, but you don't want to risk having your star receiver miss the extended time. So I'm thinking they hold Keenan out and let Josh Palmer fill that role. And Mike Williams didn't do anything last week, so I'm thinking, I think Mike will bounce back too. But Palmer's somebody that I think could see a lot of volume this week to where he's going to be a bargain in a lot of leagues because if people see his stat line and be like, oh, he's not good, but I definitely think he's going to break out this week because what he showed down the stretch last year was that while Keenan Allen was hurt, he's the guy that Herbert leaned on, and I think that'll continue this week.
And I'm going to go a different place. You went with the Thursday night game. I'll go with one of the Monday night games. Adam Thielen did not do a lot last week, but Justin Jefferson was so good against the Packers that you've just got to think he's getting special attention from that Eagles secondary. And Adam Thielen can take advantage of that. If you want to shade a safety over and double team Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen's the guy who can kill you underneath. And quite frankly, the Eagles didn't show us anything that makes you think that they can cover both of those guys anyway. And so a little bit of a sleeper pick there. Obviously, it's not like a waiver wire type situation, but I do think that he can be valuable.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's somebody a lot of people will probably be writing off because of, overreaction is Tuesday now, but, there's people still overreact to week 1 and they're like, oh, it's all Jefferson. Thielen's trash. But no, he is definitely not trash. He'll get his, and this very well could be the week.
And at some point, defenses will adjust to that and say, well, we're not going to let Justin Jefferson beat us, and Adam Thielen will be glad to beat you if that's the case. Really high on that Vikings offense, so I think they're stick with Adam Thielen. One more question we have here, as we like to remind you, if you do have questions, you can reach out to Spencer at Spencer the Guru on Twitter or Instagram throughout the week. He writes a weekly column on bet.nola.com, comes out on Thursdays. And
one today, the waiver wire piece.
Yep, and a waiver wire column today. So keep it locked to bet.nola.com for all your fantasy content. The one question we hadn't answered yet from Brett, again, any predictions for CD in PPR? The Cowboys play the Bengals. I'm going to say CD does okay with garbage time, simply because I think the Bengals are going to come out, guns blazing. Joe Burrow threw those picks. It's not in his personality to be scared off by that. They're going to want to get out to a lead. I could see CD doing fine in the garbage time category. So I'll say 14.8 PPR points.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna say 11.2. I don't think he does that well, but if he finds the end zone, he should do all right. But I definitely think he'll get back to double digits because he's going to be peppered with targets. They don't have anything else.
No, that's right, and he is the guy. Like, listen, if you're Cooper Rush and you're somehow starting in an NFL game and you've got to kind of pinch yourself, you're going to go to your safety blankets, and that's CeeDee Lamb, and it's going to be Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, Schultz is another one. Don't panic about Schultz. Don't panic drop Schultz. I was saying about Gesicki, cut him. But Schultz, he was a guy that a lot of people picked fairly early. So, no, don't panic and drop him just because Dak got hurt.
Yeah, Cooper Rush, it's not like he's not going to complete any passes. And the guys you're going to look for are his top receivers and his tight end who's, those safe routes, those security blankets. So I don't mind that at all. And they're going to be behind in a lot of games. Hello to Jerry. Week 1 in the books. Ready for week 2. That's right. That is exactly where we're at. And we'll be back on Thursday, 4 o'clock live for Bayou Bets. We will preview week 2 in the NFL, week 3 in college football. And we'll be back here for Fantasy Roundup next Tuesday, Spencer.
Good deal, man. This one flew by, man. Week 1 was quite the show. Week 2 should be pretty wild too. It's always something to talk about with this stuff. That's what makes it cool. Even though a lot of the top finishers were chalky, there was a lot of interesting angles, a lot of things to talk about with some players that kind of popped up out of nowhere. Like, that's another segment we could have. Like, wait, who was that guy? Where did he come from? You know, all these great. We had Devin Duvernay pop out of nowhere for the Ravens. We had just last night for these tight ends. Like, I was like, who's this dude Beck that's catching passes? Where's Albert O? And then why is Will Disley catching touchdowns? Why is Colby Parkinson catching touchdowns? Where's Noah Fant? Like, man, this is just, it's some madness every freaking week, but that's why we love it.
No doubt about it. We will be back, and Jerry B here on Thursday, 4 o'clock. Yeah, we were shocked by the Saints comeback too. We'll talk about that Saints-Bucks game. LSU has a big game with Mississippi State, and much more to come. So we'll see you at 4 o'clock on Friday. For Spencer the Guru, Thursday. I'm Zach Ewing. Or on 4 o'clock Thursday. What am I doing? For Spencer the Guru, I'm Zach Ewing. Have a good day, everybody.